So I had a conversation recently with somebody who was someone who has a very high IQ. She is somebody who understands her people deeply. She understands their emotions, their reasoning, who they are, what they're dealing with, while simultaneously feeling like she is lacking when it comes to selling. And she made a post about it on Threads. And I saw it as a great opportunity to give her something that was a very simple solution to her problem, because it's one that I see happen a lot with people who are deep thinkers, people who do deep transformational work. Think lifestyle coaches, relationship coaches, people who do branding where it's like deep, it's transformative, it takes time. And those are all things that are incredibly important, and also presents a challenge for those people because of how your brain works and how deep this work is. It almost feels like, how do I talk about what I do and then also sell it at the same time? And so I was reading her post, and I was reading the responses that people gave her, and I was realizing that nobody was saying the one thing that I felt was the first step, and that's invitations. Are you inviting people to work with you? And this is something that is very interesting because it is near to me, very relatable. I can understand how easy it is to create content that resonates with people, that engages people, that people feel seen with, and it feels like it's like a deep understanding of who they are. And then it also is crickets when it comes to the conversion. I understand that so deeply because you feel like you're creating the content, so it's got to be selling. And that's not always the case. Often it's not. And what I realized for myself is that the thing that was missing, that I wasn't doing often enough and directly enough, was inviting people to work with me, right? Making the offer, telling them what it is, letting them know where to go to get it. Some very simple things that in this grand scheme of a live stream probably takes you 1 to 2 minutes to say, but for us, it's very easy for us to forget that part. And so she's the kind of person that is wanting to create a magnetic presence, right? She's somebody who wants to attract the right people. She doesn't want to be the person that's chasing them, that's trying to hunt them down, who ends up attracting people or working with people that are people pleasers, that are codependent, that are not prepared to do the work, right? I mentioned before, she is a coach, relationship coach, and the work is deep. I understand that very, 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 very well. And not everybody that encounters you is going to be the best fit. And when you can't figure out how to change that up, how to attract the right people, it makes it difficult for you to do things like make the invitation, share what you have, tell people where to go, because you're also subconsciously bracing for the possibility that it's going to attract more of the wrong people. And so I want to talk about that. And I want to talk about how you can know if you are somebody that's like her, who is great at attracting people, but feeling like you're lacking when it comes to selling. Okay. So I'm going to break this all down for you, and we're going to get into it. I wish I had some water because I just got thirsty all of a sudden. Let's see how well I do without it, though. So, just a little background on her. So after that, after the post that she created, I was like, I would love to talk to you more about this, because when she says she doesn't give invitations, I don't know if I said that part, but she meant, she responded to my comment and she said, that's 100% right. I actually don't ever invite people in my content anymore. And I was like, oh, that's very interesting. So tell me about that. Where does that come from? If you're open to discussing it. And she was. So we took the conversation to the DMs, and she revealed some things to me that I thought were really interesting. So the first thing that she told me was why she stopped inviting people in the first place, right? And she told me that one of the things that she kept encountering was people who were there as people pleasers, and basically people who are there because they feel like they are supposed to be there, or there's like the proximity thing. Sometimes people come to you because they just really want community and they want to be around someone, and they buy your things to remain in community and to have that proximity even if that's not what you're selling. And so those things are what caused her to be like, okay, let me take a step back. Let me stop inviting people because this is clearly not attracting the right people. And not only is not attracting the right people, the ones that I am working with that aren't a right fit, I'm feeling drained by this. I am feeling burnt out now, which it did for her lead to burnout. And she had to take a step back and is now in a place where she's stepping back into marketing her business, doing the work, and finding how to do this in a way where she's able to be fully embodied. Like I want to say embodied, but I feel like I'm not using it in the right context. But she wants to really feel embodied in how she's showing up, and she wants it to feel aligned. I think that might be the best way to describe it. She wants it to feel aligned. And so when she was talking about it, she mentioned how it felt like she was chasing people, right? Chasing people down, and she was doing so much work just to get people into the door, or to get people to work with her who really weren't even like ready to do that kind of work. And so there was a disconnect that was going on. And so she associated that disconnect with inviting people to work with her. Okay. And so I really want y'all to keep that in mind because I'm going to go into that a little bit more as I break this down. So let's talk a little bit about magnetism. Okay, being magnetic, attracting the right people, that is something that is really in alignment with how I operate and how I move. I'm not a real big like hunt for opportunity kind of person, or I'm chasing down opportunities, or even some of the best moments that I've had and opportunities that I've got to experience came from attracting those opportunities. I was never really like looking for it or pitching myself for it. And it is something that even when it comes to the kind of presence that I have, the magnetism is there. Okay. Like I know, like I have this thing where I draw in certain kinds of people, you know, and lots of kinds of people, but I have that attraction kind of thing going on. And so what she described to me was how she wants her content to be magnetic. And I loved that she used that word because good content absolutely does that. And what was also interesting to me is that I'm willing to bet she already has magnetic content and a magnetic presence. And the disconnect really is the invitation piece. Okay. But I won't go too far ahead of myself. We're gonna stay with the magnetism. So what is really powerful about magnetism is that it really brings the people to you. Like it helps people to it helps to get people's attention. It helps for people to not only stay but to really resonate with what it is that you're saying, because that's also a really big part of magnetism, is not just being attractive or having the best equipment or camera setup, but it is about saying something that resonates with people that they really care about, and they want to continue to listen to you talking about it. Okay. That would be the most succinct way that I can describe it. And that would be true no matter what you look like physically, right? Well, I'll leave that there. So, the thing that magnetism doesn't do well, though, is it doesn't tell people what to do next. Is really great at drawing people in, but it's not enough to convert people. It's not enough for people to then know what to do. So what ends up happening is that it creates this gap in the pathway. And I always use this comparison of, or this illustration of a bridge. And if we're going to be talking about magnetism on one end and your offer on the other end, The invitation is the bridge, it's the connection. So this you're talking about this thing, this challenge that people have, or this desire that people have, and you have the solution in your offer, but you're talking about this thing, and then the offer is over here, the solution's over here. But if you're not telling people that is there, you're missing out on that part where you get to build that pathway and that bridge. And the thing that can be tricky about it is that you cannot be making the invitation directly, and you'll still have people who will just find it anyway, right? You have people that'll listen to what you say, and they'll resonate with it so much, they'll like it so much that they'll go and figure out how to buy from you, right? They'll figure out how to purchase, they'll figure it out. But that is a very particular group of people that are very aware of what it is they need. They're very self-led, and that is not the common group of people. That's not the norm. And so what your invitation can help people to do is to bridge that gap more often, make that connection more often. And so people, when you're somebody who has that magnetic presence already, and you're already attracting people, but it's not getting you sales, it's not getting you results, it's not converting people, you can get into that place where you start to feel like you're not making enough content, or you're not consistent enough, or your content's not good. And all three of those things can be false. It can be none of those things. It can simply be that you have all three of those things together, and you're still missing the piece where you're inviting people. But that's where our brains tend to go to when we perceive the challenge that we have. And so the actual problem is that you're not introducing an entry point. You're not allowing people to see where the door is so they can walk through it. And so when you think about how often you have created something, how many times you've talked about a particular topic, I want you to start to think about how often you tied that to something that people can buy. How often you have plugged your offer, mentioned your offer, told people what you're working on and when it'll be available. There's so many different ways that you can extend that invitation. And I might get into some of those ways. We'll see. We'll see. I'll see how much I get into how to do that. But I do want to spend a lot of time breaking this down so that you can start to reframe it for yourself as well, especially if you resonate with this, so that you can see, like, I can be a magnetic person, and I can be bringing people in and doing all the right things, and the only thing that's missing is that I am not adding the invitation. Okay? And there is a particular reason why people are not extending the invitations. And that's what I want to get into next, because this is the problem that she was experiencing. And this was why she decided to stop giving the invitation. Okay. So now we're going to get into invitation versus chasing. And if you are someone who has experienced having clients and working with people who cross boundaries, who slip into codependency, who are overall just not a great fit for what you're doing, you are probably really going to be resonating with this piece. And this is what I want you to start to pay attention to for yourself, and seeing if you see this when you talk about your work and when you speak about what you do. Because it's tricky, is this is the part where people end up hiding in plain sight. Okay. So let's get into it. So she was pairing inviting with chasing, and she was conflating the two together. And so this is the connection that her brain was making. So invitation means chasing. I don't want to invite the wrong people, so I'm not going to extend the invitation at all. And so I want to talk about what chasing actually is, because an invitation is a neutral thing, right? And it should be a neutral thing. But what makes it more emotional is the meaning that we tie to it. Okay. So here is what chasing really is. So chasing is convincing people, following up, and I don't mean that in the sense of follow-ups are bad, but there's a certain kind of energy that this type of follow-up has. Holding indecision, and when I say that, I'm referring to the people who are not sure whether they want to work with you, and you're like, okay, well, I'm here. Let me know what I can do, and you're trying to really like overcompensate for their indecision. Okay. Or even lowering the bar. And that can be when it comes to your prices, when it comes to, especially when it comes to the work that you do and the parameters that you set in place, and going beyond those in order to accommodate people. Right. Again, there's nothing wrong with being the person who over delivers. There is something wrong when you're constantly trying to adjust and shift and move to make space for what they want, and you're not taking into account why you set this up this way in the first place, why you have these boundaries in place in the first place, and you're bypassing what you know is best for you in order to appease the client. And so what it ends up being, in summary, is people pleasing, right? Is people pleasing. And so that's not inviting people. That is chasing people with an invitation. This is, I mean, I just somebody just like running at you with an invitation, and you're already like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna make it. I gotta check my calendar still. And they're like, no, but here, look, look, look. Can you go? Do you wanna? I can do this. I can pick you up. Like somebody just like, like trying to like shove it down your throat. And that's like I feel like it's like the perception that people have of sales in general, of selling things, that we get like that pushy, ignore what you said, shove it down your throat. They sense the weakness, and then they attack the weakness, like like that kind of thing. That perception that people have, and so that's how it can come across, and that's what it is essentially. Even though it looks different, it doesn't look pushy. You know, it doesn't look like the typical like salesman type of energy, but it is still doing the same thing. It's still giving you the same effect. And so with an invitation is simply direction. It is simply telling people where to go next. What does it mean? What does it mean? Where do I go? Like, you just told me some things that just like shifted. You have rocked my world. What do I do now? That's what the invitation is there to do. And so chasing is the behavior that you add to the invitation, but it is not the invitation. You literally do not have to chase people to invite them into something. And so when you've only experienced inviting people and chasing as a combo, then it all feels like the same thing to you. And so that's what was happening with her, is like she's conflating those two things, and making it where her desire is to attract more, right? But when I think about that and the invitation piece being taken out, it almost feels like a it almost feels like a cop out. And I want to say this as respectfully as possible, but it feels like a cop out, because now you're bringing people in, sure, but now you're not asserting any authority. You're not exercising your all of the things that you have available to you to make it clear to people what it is that you're doing and how they can work with you. Like, it's missing a piece of marketing. It's almost like you're giving away all of the power, and that's not what we want to do. And so when you cut that out, you're now cutting off that bridge, that pathway that leads from the desires or the problem to the solution. Okay. So when you separate them and put each of them in their proper place, invitation here, chasing here, you now get to approach inviting people from a new perspective. And you get to see, oh, this is how I can invite people in, and I can be inviting the right people, right? I can now see how I was speaking was attracting this kind of person. Let me shift this. And I want to pause here for just a second because this is another thing that I see often with people who do this kind of work. People whose work is related to healing, related to transformation in terms of internally and even externally. But when there is an inner work involved, we can get to a place where we're speaking very vaguely, and we're speaking in a way where it feels clear to us because we can imagine the scenarios. We can imagine the person, but when it comes out of our mouth, it sounds like we're talking to this wide group of people, and we're not. And sometimes it ends up becoming our language ends up becoming enabling. I've definitely experienced that. It ends up becoming more like we're allowing people to remain in victimhood, and we're calling it grace, and we're calling it understanding, and we are very like slightly, and sometimes even deeper, like we start slipping into therapy territory, and we start slipping into spaces where our work, the real work that we want to do, is now being overshadowed by all of this other stuff that is not in it's not in our wheelhouse. And I'll share an example with y'all. I wasn't going to share I was going to keep this like not about me, but I do want to share a quick story about this because this is one of the main driving factors and why conversations like this are so important to me, and why I love being able to have them and show people that the problem that they have is not really the problem they think they have. It's really something else. So I told you I've had experiences with the codependent client, right? And I had a client in particular who was there were signs. I'm gonna start there. There were signs. So she was someone who had multiple businesses that she started. That she was getting them up. And in some cases, she was doing them consistently, and then things fell off. Hey, Gil, and then things fell off. And her biggest challenge was consistency when it came to actually following through on marketing these businesses. And so when I saw on the surface, right on the surface, she seemed like the right client. So I'm not going to say that this is something that's always so cut and dry and easy, because on the surface they can look like who you're targeting. And at this point I knew I'm not working with new entrepreneurs. I know that's not my space, that's not my lane. I don't want to. You need somebody else to help you to really like start something and get it going. My sweet spot is with people who are established entrepreneurs, who are pivoting, who are rebranding, and they already got something to work with. And they need my help to bring it together and make it make sense, or make this new direction make sense. Right. And so I'm saying this to show you that on the surface, she was the right client. Now, when we pop open the hood, though, there were a lot of signs that she was showing me that she was not prepared to do this work. And I ignored all of them. Okay. She was at a point in her life where there were so many things that were happening personally that her priority really needed to be herself. And when it came mentally, when it came to physical health, there were a lot of things going on, and they were all reasons why she couldn't do what she needed to do for her business. Okay. And another thing that I started to notice as well, which is something that I definitely pay attention to now, is that there was this pressure that she was putting on herself, which then also I took on as my own issue, where she felt like she needed to set some very ambitious sales goals for herself without having the evidence that she already can do the things that she needs to do to show up for her business. And so because those things, those habits weren't already in practice, they were already in play, the likelihood of reaching any sales goal was unlikely for that reason. And one thing that I know now for myself is that if you are someone who is like pressed for cash, and it is really important for you to drive revenue and in a short period of time, I'm not the person to come to for that. Okay. I told y'all in the beginning, this is not sales training. I am not a sales coach. I can show you how you can show up so that your content resonates with people in a way where it converts them. But the actual sales strategies, that's a whole different beast, right? And the sales strategies are only useful for the people who are already showing up consistently anyway, right? So there were some steps that she was missing, but she kept talking about what she wanted, but the work wasn't there. Okay. And so long story short, she actually ended up ghosting me. So she just like drops out. She unfollows me from everything. She drops out of the program. Like she just goes, she just leaves. And when that happened, I was so frustrated by it because of all the work that I felt like I had put in. I wasn't even mad about the ghosting. I was like, I'm so upset that I put in so much work into helping, and it's like almost like she gave up on herself in that. Like, and it really bothered me that it happened that way. And I think the biggest thing was the ghosting part was like, what? Like, you have looked me in my face. You can't just ghost people like that. But I don't know what she was going through to this day. Still don't know what she was going through. But what I do know is that it was not a good fit, right? And I learned that the hard way. Those clients all too well, Gil? Yeah. It's like, it was, y'all, it was bad. And so because of that, I ended up taking a really big step back from marketing that program. That's actually the program that I have been talking about for the past few weeks, the Getting Unshy Collective. And I stopped talking about it like almost all of last year. Like all of last year, I would talk about it here and there, but as far as a launch, I was like, no, mm-mm, nope, I'm good. I'm gonna push this off to the side because I felt so like thrown off by all of that what I wanted to figure out now is how do I not attract that kind of client again? What do I need to do differently so that that doesn't happen again? Right? And so all of that, understanding that, going through that experience, learning how the language that I was using was attracting people who were not prepared to do the work. It wasn't a good fit. And that's okay. Like, that's fine. That's more than okay. That's great. That if it doesn't attract those people anymore, or if it attracts less people, but it's more of the right people, I was fine with all of that. And so I had to really learn what those things look like so that now when I speak about what I do, I'm speaking with more clarity And the people who are right for me, the right fit, the right clients are now attracted to me, right? That's where the magnetism comes back into play. I'm attracting those people and converting. I'm not just making content that people like, but it's also converting. And so I know what what that disconnect is, and how the problem isn't the invitation, but it really truly is the language that you're using. And that's why I go so hard on my people that are like that, my deep thinkers, my healers, my the practitioners who do that deep work with people, that deep transformative work. That's why I go so hard on, let's be specific. Who is this person? What is it that they're looking for? Do you enjoy doing this work? Is this the right program, the right offer for this person? And being as clear and as direct as possible so that you can still be that magnet that attracts people, and then you can make the invitation for them to work with you. Because as many times as you may have encountered the wrong clients, there are so many more people who are the right fit that are waiting for you to say the word. Literally, they're waiting for you to be like, this is where you go. This is what I got for you. I heard you. I see you. This is what you need to do. Okay. So my theory in all of this is that what she needs is to be more specific. She needs a like a and I don't think it's a big tweak, but I think it's just like some subtle shifts in her messaging, paired with a content rhythm that she can maintain, and then practicing giving the invitation, extending the invitation, and then seeing what kinds of people come from that. And so there are actually a few different things that comes to my mind as ways to kind of like baby step your way into it. And I'm going to share those at the end. Before I get into that though, I want to give you an opportunity to see, like, self-diagnose ourselves. So we're going to use this as a little audit for ourselves to see if this is what we are experiencing with our content. So the first sign that you are in the same boat as homegirl, people tell you that your content resonates and then don't book with you. That's one of the signs. Another sign is you attract people who drain more than they energize. The third way that you can know is you've pulled back from selling because last time it cost you something real. That was where I was at for sure. I was like, woo. Let's bring that back. I don't know. I don't know if I want to do that no more. The next sign that you can use to tell is that you get I love your work more than I'm ready. What's next? That is woo, that is one of the best signs. And that's one where you'll know that you are already magnetic. However, you're not converting people, and this might be the reason why. I'm almost 100% certain it is, y'all. I ain't even gonna hold you. I ain't even gonna hold you. I don't like speaking in absolutes, so I'm gonna leave a small margin of error. But I'm almost certain that this is a problem. This is it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, call something, y'all. Another sign, no, that's not all. That's all the signs. So I'm gonna go through them one more time. People tell you your content resonates and they don't book. You attract people who drain more than they energize. You've pulled back from selling because last time it cost you something real, and you get more I love your work than you do I'm ready. What's next? Okay, so those are your signs. One or more of those, this is for you. Congratulations. The solution is honestly very simple, but it also requires practice. Okay. It requires practice, it requires experimenting, and it definitely requires you creating so that you can see what works and test things out. Okay. Adrian said, I've definitely had misaligned clients, but had to work through that, not give so much energy to repelling them, but to restore myself and connect with those that are a right fit for me. Yeah. And I think that that's the place that she's at right now, is getting back aligned within herself, and then allowing that to guide how she shows up. And I believe that the work that I can do to help support that is to help her to see how to put together a strategy that makes sense for her. Because once you have the strategy, you're not having like the fears of, oh, I'm not consistent enough, I'm not doing this enough. Like those are not that's not specific enough for your issues. And the thing that I really appreciated about how the whole conversation flowed is that at the end, she thanked me for reflecting back to her. And that's something that I know I have the capability of doing, because I've been called a mirror in so many different ways. always, I'm always reflecting people back to themselves, because I know that you're really the one that has the answers. I just have a piece of the puzzle that was missing. I don't ever think that I'm the person that's going to save you. I don't want to be your savior. I do not want to be your hero. But I do want to show you that something that you might have believed up until this point, when you shift it, it can be the very thing that unlocks so much more for you. And so that's what I want to be able to support her with now that she has taken the time to recover after burnout. She is learning more about herself and understanding herself. That makes her a very strong candidate, because if you have to do a lot of self-discovery, we just gotta have something to work with. I'm not gonna say self-discovery is gonna always be a part of the process. I can't help that, y'all. Like, it's gonna always be a part of it. But knowing that I'm already connecting with somebody who is doing that work, and I don't have to convince you that that's necessary. That's already a value that you have. That's another plus. And so I know now that she's showing up, she's posting content. I know that she is creating to some degree. So now, how can we make it so that you can have a rhythm that makes sense for you, that works and is effective? Yeah, that right. Yeah, I do not want to be nobody's hero. Neural. Neural. Okay, so here's what I was thinking about. Let me give y'all this homework that you can use, and then I'm gonna tell y'all what I want to. I'm gonna see how many things I can come up with that I feel help with the whole invitation challenge. That's the best way I can put it right now. So I want you to go, and I want you to look at your last 5 pieces of content. Okay. And I want you to ask yourself, did I give people somewhere to go within any of those 5? It doesn't have to be every 5, but I'm gonna tell y'all some different ways that I've been seeing people do that I feel it can help with the whole invitation issue. So, somewhere in that 5, did you give somebody somewhere to go? Did you tell them what to do and where to go? Was there a door? Or did you create this moment where people were activated and then you let the moment pass? If you did, please do not beat yourself up about it, but just take note of that, and really think about, where is this coming from? Where is the hesitation coming from? Because your hesitation is probably, I mean, it might not be the same as hers. You may not have the same challenge of being worried about attracting the right clients, but maybe you don't feel confident in your offer. And it's something that we talked about earlier, Adrian, is that being confident in your offer and the work that you do. And this reminds me, I'm actually going to give y'all like a little bonus, especially because I didn't go live last week, and I do want to share something with y'all that I think will be really helpful when it comes to selling. And it is the Selling Without Selling Out workshop that I did a few months ago. Not this one I did this year. I did another one last year. It has totally different content. And so I want to share that so that y'all can see where some of this might be coming from. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but that's the homework. So ask yourself, look over your last piece of the content. Ask yourself, did I give people somewhere to go? Was there a door? Or did I create activation and then let the moment pass? And so that's where the gap usually is when it comes to your content. That's where the bridge is missing in what it is that you're saying. And if this is something that you want to go deeper in, you have me to help you with this. This is something that I do with people one on one when I help them to create their brand profile. I not only tell you about your brand and what you're doing and who you're talking to, but I also give you ways to invite people that feel natural, that feel second nature, and that are catered to how you communicate. We can talk about the different areas, the content genres that you have. All of that is broken down inside of the brand profile. So if you're somebody who is in a similar place where things are shifting, you are feeling that you're entering a new phase, things are shifting for you, your brand is growing, and you're now seeing that, oh, this is becoming something new now, this is becoming something fresh. How do I present this to people, or how do I come back after such a long break? A brand profile can be a really strong way for you to get back in the game. So if you're interested in that, that's something that you can contact me directly for. So I'll put a link somewhere down there that'll tell you where to go. I don't have that right now, but I'll put a link so we can have a quick consultation and we can talk more about it and see if we're a good fit for each other. But